Okay. Hello everyone. So today's problem is neighboring bitwise XOR, and here you in this problem, what you're given is you're given some array. Okay, you may read the problem statement here. I won't waste time here. Yeah. So we are given a derived array. Let's say this is our derived array. Okay. Now, what they have given is like there is some kind of array. Let's say there is some kind of array. Let's say 0, 1, 1, or let's say 1, 0, 0, whatever. Okay. So how is it derived? How is it made? Like this one made by taking the first bit, let's say B1, and the second bit B2, and then they XORed it, and then they get this one. Okay, so in short, let's say if I have this array, okay, in short, if I have this array, let's say 1, 1, and 0, what they did is they did this B0 XOR B1, right? And for this, they did B1 XOR B2. And for this, what did they do? You can see here, like uh, it's a circular array, which means like if I is n minus one, then the derived of I is the ith element, which means the last, and the zeroth element. So last and zeroth element, if the value is last, you can see here like this is zero index. So if I is n minus one, which is I is the last element, and when for the derived I, for how is the last bit derived? This is derived with any bit at this index and the first index. So which means this is derived from B2 XOR bit 0, right? So what we can see here, right? This is uh, we need to we need to create some kind of array and check like if the array can be created. Okay, so which should be binary. Okay, so we only, but in basic they are only asking like if there exists a valid array or not. Okay, so there are two methods. Okay, well, first method is, let's go through first method. This one is easy. You can see here, right? This is repeated. This is repeated. This is repeated. So the correct XOR array should have a zero as a XOR result. So if we XOR these, it should have an XOR. So if we XOR all these elements, let's say we XOR one with one and then XOR that with zero, the answer should be zero, right? If the answer is one, then it is false. So we can directly say, like, let's say if our RAS is zero, excuse me, okay. So RAS is zero for items in derived, then RAS we do an XOR and then we do it items and we'll check like if RAS equal to zero, right? And this even works because like when we expand each derived, you can see like there are duplicates. And how do we cancel duplicates? We XOR that with itself. And even when we submit, you can see like the it's working. But what is other method? Okay, let's see. Okay. Now, what should be the other method? What is our other thinking pattern? Okay. Our array is 1, 1, and 0, right? And let's say this is our truth table, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1, right? And the truth table for this is like same elements are 0 and different ones are 1. Okay. Now you can notice here, right? If it doesn't matter like the sequence of these, the result is always 1. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll start with element. You can either start with 0 or you can either start with 1. Anything will work. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll create a list with a zeroth element. Okay. Zeroth element as 0. Now what you look here, what do we want here? Right? We want 1 because it is derived. This is our resultant. So if we want 1 here, what should be our next element? So if we have first element as 0 and if we want 1, then what should be our next element? It should be 1, right? Okay. Now let's go to the next. So if there is 1 and we have 1, so we have 1 and our resultant is 1. So what should be our next element? It should be 0, right? So we put 0 here. Now here 0, right? Now we currently have 0 and our resultant is 0, right? We have 0 and our resultant is 0. So what do we need next? 0, right? So this is our finalized array. Now notice that this is the XOR of last value and the first value, right? So if this is our last value, then this should be our first value, right? So what do we need to do? So this first and this first should match, right? Because as it is a circular array, this must be an XOR of this one. And if uh, if the next element for this result is 0, then this thing and this thing should match. And that's the basic idea. Okay. So let's try with this approach. Okay, we'll create a value with 0 and let's create a toggle. Why are we using toggle? Because let's say if the current element is 0 in our list, okay, 0, and we want 1, we will use a toggled of our current element, right? This we need to toggle this and add it to our list. So that's why we are using it, and we will return 0 if x is equal to 1, else 1. Okay. Now, what do we need to do? We need to traverse through the array, right? So let me get the length of it. Length is what length of derive. Okay. Now, for I in range, we are simply going through the derived array. And what do we check if derived of I is equal to 1? So if derived of I is equal to 1, which means like if this is 1, so what do we need? We need a toggled element of this. Because like if we have 0 or 1 here, let's say, right? Even let's say we have 1 here, right? So if we have 0, we need a toggled element. You can see on the right hand side here. And if we have a starting element with a starting array with 1, we need to have a 0. So it is toggled, right? And this is toggled. So that's why I did create a toggle. And what do we need to add? We need to add append ls of -1, and we need to toggle it, right? Because hope you understand. Because uh, let me give you a basic example. Okay. So let's say we have 110 here, and here 0 and 011 and 10101. Okay. So uh, if we want 1 here, we need toggled element, and if we have 0 at start, if we have 0 at the last of our list, -1 of our list, then we want a toggled element, right? Because 0 and 1 should only result to 1. So that's why we have added a toggled value. Now, what should we do if it is not 1? Else, we will simply append ls of -1, right? Why ls of -1? You must be wondering why ls of -1, right? So if this is if this is 0 and this is 0, right? Or if this is 1, let's say we have 0, let's starting with 0 and 1. Okay. So if this is 0, so what, and if we want a 0 here, right? Let's say our next derived, let's say this is our derived element, right? 0, 1, 0. Okay. If this is 0 and we want to derive a 0, we want the result as 0. So what should be our next element? It should be 0, right? Because 0 XOR 0 should be 0. So that's why we are doing it, right? And the same goes for 1. Okay. Now, once we have iterated through the loop, we'll check like if ls of -1 should be equal to ls of 0. Because it is a circular array, the two element which is it is XORed for, right? So the last element should be equal to first one. So we will return true here, and we can return a false here because if this condition is false, then it will automatically return false. And if we run this, yeah, you can see it's working. It's a bit slow process, but it's good for the understanding. And yeah, thank you everyone. So please like, share, and subscribe the channel.